Welcome back.
Folks, today Liberia television, live from the Liberian Senate, main chambers. Here, folks, wherever you are joining us, we'd like to say welcome. It's on today Liberia television. J. Cashot is my name. J. Cashot is my name. With here, folks, at the main chambers of the Liberian Senate, and senators are putting on to job now, and found a means to conduct the Liberian people business with the President of the Liberian Senate and the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Jeremiah Kwan presiding. We're going to bring you an update from the Senate. Folks, wherever you are joining us, we'd like to say welcome. It's on today Liberia television. J. Cashot is my name for the very best. This online platform has to offer you first in the best entertainment. We're going to bring you an update on how the Liberian Senate up Capitol Hills operates every Tuesday, Thursday, and 5 days in a week, work days. So, folks, wherever you are joining us, the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, the President of the Liberian Senate is in consultation with the Chair on Executive. So wherever you are joining us, I'd like to say welcome. The former Putin is also being captured on our camera here with the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia having some consultation before the regular session begins. Wherever you are joining us, welcome is on today Liberia television. It's live here from the Liberian Senate. Wherever you are joining us, we'd like to say welcome on to the Liberian television. Still within the Liberian Senate, and also from the grounds of the Capitol building at the Honorable House of Representatives, we have our reporter there who is bringing your update for that as well. So folks, wherever you are joining us, we'd like to say welcome. It's on to the Liberia television.
I think we get corona now, right?
Motion of opening agenda.
The Vice President and President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, we have listened to the reading of the draft agenda. I move that said agenda be received for discussions.
No second. If we move and second and the motion, the agenda be open for discussion. Are you ready to vote?
Ready.
Those in favor say yes. Against? The agenda is open. Senator Benagan.
Thank you, President. Welcome. And I think Senator Jara today, I think because we're in so far this weekend, so he's very happy.
So, are you correct there?
Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, I know that the report for the Commerce Minister has been submitted for confirmation. I would like to ask the indulgence to please put it on the agenda.
No way, that's a good Let me put it there with you. Put it there. Put it down. Okay. You see the floor? Put it there. Put it there.
The agenda is open.
Mr. President, I have a report did not make the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. President of the Senate, observing the pro tem comment, will defer it to Thursday.
No.
Not necessarily.
Don't tell me.
Why are you fighting me for? What are you fighting for? Mr. President, you see they're taking advantage of me.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Ghana.
Mr. President of the Senate, colleagues, I want us to add on the agenda the issue of the increment in prices. That's why when I get that one.
Look at it, right to that.
Oh, stop the record. Yeah, we know that. amendment to the agenda? With all the amendments satisfied, Senator, please hear a motion.
Your Excellency, all the amendments are now moved that the agenda be adopted and used as our working tool for today's session.
It be moved and seconded that the agenda be adopted and used for this session. Are you ready to vote? Those in favor say yea. Against? Secretary, Mr. President.
Business of President's text. Communication from the President of the Republic of Liberia. First communication. Republic of Liberia, the President. The government 18-2024. Senator Youngly Kanga Lawrence, President pro tempore of the Senate session. Capitol Building, Monrovia, Liberia. Madam President pro tempore, this will inform you and through you, the Honorable House of Senate, that I will be traveling to Freetown, Sierra Leone on a working visit upon invitation of the government of Sierra Leone from November 18 to the 21st, 2024. I depart the country on November 18, 2024. While I'm away, Honorable Samuel A. Silkwood, Minister of State with Hot Portfolio for Special Services, will chair the Cabinet in consultation with the Vice President and by my directive via telephone. Kind regards, sincerely, Joseph N. Boakat Sr., President of the Republic of Liberia. First communication. Second communication. Republic of Liberia, the President. November 18, 2024. Honorable Youngly Kanga Lawrence, President pro tempore, the Liberian Senate in section Capitol Building, Monrovia, Liberia. Madam President pro tempore and distinguished members of the Senate. As an integral part of moving our country forward, I have the honor to submit to the 55th Legislature the proposed national budget for the period beginning January 1, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025. This submission is in furtherance of our previous communication to your honorable body in pursuant of section 17.1 of the amended and restated Public Financial Management Act of 2009. 1. Resource envelope. The total revenue envelope is projected at US $851.76 billion, of which domestic revenue constitutes US $791.76 billion, or 93% of the total envelope. This includes tax revenue of US $633.37 million, or 80% of domestic revenue. Non-tax revenue of US $138.5 million, or 17.4%, and contingent revenue of US $18.8 million, or 2.3%. The contingent revenue forecast has been tied to corresponding expenditures, which will be disbursed later during the year when appropriate contingent revenue items are raised. External resources amount to US $60 million, or 7.0% of the total revenue envelope, to be sourced from the World Bank US $40 million and the European Union US $20 million. This represents a 50% increase in external resources from the fiscal year 2024. The increase in the resource envelope is on account of the stated performance of domestic revenue, especially taxes on income and profits, goods and services, and international trade. 2. Expenditure categories and major sources. 70% or US $598 million of the total proposed budget is allocated for recurrent expenditure. 12% or US $102.8 million for asset accumulation, including almost US $98 million for Public Sector Investment Plan, PSRP, in 16%, or US $137 million for public debt service, in 2.2%, or US $18.8 million for contingent expenditure. The recurrent expenditure is intended to cover the costs of retained government operations, while PSRP expenditures will provide resources for the implementation of critical development interventions under the Arrest Agenda for Inclusive Development, AARD. The outlay for debt service is part of the government's ongoing efforts to reduce current debt stock and ensure that our debt profile is within the framework of the Medium-Term Debt Sustainability Strategy, the MTDS. 3. The macroeconomic context and outlook. Real GDP for 2025 is projected at US $3.97 billion to reach the $3,979,800,000, which will be more than 200 million more than the forecast for 2024. This means the Liberian economy is projected to grow by 5.8% in 2025, up with a forecast of 5.1% in 2024. The 2025 projections are based on strong performances in the mining and penning sector, 8.5%, the manufacturing sector, 6.9%, the agriculture and fisheries sector, 5.2%, and the services sector, 5.0%. The growth forecast for the period of the Arrest Agenda 2025 to 2029 remains promising, with an average growth rate of 5.9%. This upward performance will be influenced by investment in public sector projects and the mineral sector, supported by structural reforms in key sectors such as energy, trade, transportation, and financial services. The top two contributors to GDP in 2025 will be the services sector with about 38% and agriculture and fisheries sector about 29%. The rest will be mining and penning at 19.2%, forestry at about 8%, and manufacturing at 6%. Inflation is expected to slow down to 5% from 6% in the 2024 Consumer Price Index, the CPI. Inflationary pressures are forecasted to moderate on average to 6.0% in 2025 and to fall further to 5.2% in 2026, down from 7.7% projected on average in 2024. Changes in consumer prices are forecasted to average 5.4% in the medium term of 2025 to 2027. 4. Spending priorities. Honorable Pro Tem and distinguished members of the Senate, this administration is taking deliberate steps to invest in programs that have real impact on the current and future well-being of our people. Consequently, in this proposed budget, we are increasing the proportion of PSRP expenditure from US $67.4 million in fiscal year 2024 to US $98 million in fiscal year 2025, a 31% increase. This increase is informed by the adequate allocation of resources for the implementation of the Arrest Agenda, projects and programs, which amounts to US $87 million or 86% of the PSRP. The allocations for the Arrest specific PSRP projects are meant to initiate projects and programs for the first year of the National Development Plan. In the agriculture sector, in addition to allocation to address administrative costs for the ministry, we have also allocated US $7 million under the PSRP for the first year of the Arrest Agenda to possibly fund critical interventions in agriculture value chain programs. This will enable the acceleration of research, increase extension services to producers, and commence the drive towards value addition in the form of processing, storage, and distribution. A vibrant and efficient agricultural value chain program will increase productivity, reduce reliance on imports, and increase our export-based potential in the agricultural sector. For roads and infrastructure, US $52.9 million has been allocated, including US $37.6 million for the rehabilitation of major roads. This will encompass the rehabilitation of rural roads and the construction of built bridges across the country. Also included in this envelope is counterpart funding for ongoing works on key road corridors such as the Saklepe-Zwedru segment of the Sikram project, the Sanokole Local Toll Highway, and the Salaye-Biantown section of the Baga-Menkoma Highway. An additional US $15 million has been set aside for the Pliable Roads Program and other infrastructure improvements. This is meant to keep city streets, community roads, and farm-to-market roads accessible, especially during the rainy season. Other interventions will include the rehabilitation of the road from the Freeport of Monrovia to St. Paul's Bridge, upgrade of the Roberts International Airport traffic lights, expansion of the Liberia broadcasting system to have LNTV available in all 15 county capital cities, investment in energy projects in rural Liberia. In rule of law, there is a total of $3.7 million United States proposed for various projects. This includes US $1.1 million to continue the ongoing renovation of military housing and commence renovation work on the barracks of the Liberia National Police located on Houghton Avenue in Monrovia. Other priorities in this spending package are the anti-drug program, which must go, quote unquote, counterpart funding for the proposed new Temple of Justice complex, and the construction and rehabilitation of prisons across the country. The education pillar of the arrest agenda for US has US $5.3 million projected for PSRP projects. The major allocations in this portfolio are US $2.9 million for the renovation and expansion of school facilities for the Ministry of Education, the Moria Consolidated School System, and the Boca Washington Institute. The Digital Transformation Program is set to continue with a $600,000 US allocation for 2025 activities. Another priority spending in the education sector is US $1 million to strengthen school feeding, which will not only provide nutrition and set children on the path to healthier school life, but will also keep them in school and support agricultural outputs through the procurement of locally grown food products. For sanitation and health, we are proposing under the PSRP to spend US $7.6 million, of which US $1.6 million will go to the drug revolving funds and community pharmacies, and US $1.9 million for electricity and capacity expansion at the John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital. Other PSRP priorities in the health sector are the reconstruction of C.H. Benning Hospital in Miami County and the upgrading of the Jassy Hebdo Memorial Hospital in Lima County from a regional referral facility to a national referral hospital. For basic urban sanitation, US $2.5 million will be spent on a Clean Cities campaign in Monrovia and Painesville cities, the landfill project in Cheesemanburg, and solid waste management in the 15 counties capitals. And in tourism, we are seeking legislation to create an autonomous tourism board. In anticipation of this outcome, we have proposed US $250,000 for various interventions, including the development of plans and marketing strategies for the tourism sector to enable us to leverage our vast tourism potential. This amount may increase subsequently for implementing those plans and strategies when the board is established and functional. Various sector ministries, agencies, commissions have been allocated funds under their respective budgets to develop programs, projects, and services in all the counties during the fiscal year 2025, in furtherance of our decentralization agenda. In addition, we have allocated US $10.5 million as direct funding to the counties to fund projects agreed by county stakeholders. This includes US $5.2 million for the Social Development Fund, US $2.8 million for the County Development Fund, US $1.5 million to support the implementation of the 15 counties development agendas, the CDAs, and US $0.8 million for the second phase of the Liberia Decentralization Support Program. Another nationwide spending priority we plan to introduce as part of the fiscal year 2025 plan is the National Service Program, for which US $1 million has been included in the PSRP portfolio. This program would fund volunteer services in the community and public sanitation, environmental protection, and tutorial services, among others. This program would, among other things, prepare young people and instill in them the discipline to be positive contributors to society, while at the same time providing them with some financial benefits. Madam Pro Tempore and distinguished members of the Senate, over the past 6 years, our public sector workers have had to contend with diminishing purchasing power on account of alcohol reduction in their salaries, in addition to the impacts of exogenous macroeconomic shocks. This is a problem we are committed to addressing during the course of this administration. In the draft budget of fiscal year 2025, we have allocated more than $16 million to fund the first set of measures in a multi-year effort aimed at addressing some of the remuneration concerns and challenges in the public sector. As a first step in this direction, we have allocated funds to ensure that all central government employees earning monthly gross salaries below US $150 minimum, as provided for the Decent Work Act 2015, will receive nothing less than US $150 as monthly gross salary beginning January 2025. Second, the fiscal year 2025 budget will also be the start of a multi-year plan to address the perennial issue of volunteer workers in the health and education sectors. The estimated cost to fully put all these volunteer workers on the payroll is around US $50 million, which the government cannot fully afford in fiscal year 2025, given the competing demands on the fiscal space. However, we have allocated US $2.6 million in the fiscal year 2025 budget to enable the Ministries of Health and Education to begin addressing this challenge in fiscal year 2025 after an exhaustive and thorough vetting exercise. Third, we have allocated nearly US $3 million in the draft budget for fiscal year 2025 to ensure that nearly 2,000 teachers with CEED certificates, B certificates, associate and bachelor's degrees, who are currently being paid below their respective pay grades, receive salaries commensurate with their qualifications beginning January 2025. Similarly, fourth, we have allocated funds to add at least US $225 beginning January 2025 to the salaries of specialist doctors in the health sector who are being paid below their pay grades as a first action in the direction of fully regularizing their pay. The fifth measure in our set of year one actions is to adjust the salaries of additional number of employees in the health, agriculture, and security sectors. This measure will result in a monthly salary increase of between US $25 and US $50. Nurses, midwives, and physician assistants will receive US $50 salary top-ups per month, while other health workers will receive between US $25 to US $40 based on their levels. Other government employees in the agriculture and security sectors, including AFL soldiers, EPS, and police officers, agriculture extension workers will also benefit from monthly salary top-ups, ranging from US $30 to to US $40 per month. In sum, about 28,200 government workers, representing 45% of the government workforce, are set to benefit from various forms of salary top-ups in fiscal year 2025. The sixth and final part of the income support strategy entails implementing the provisions of the National Security Act of 2015, which mandates the government of Liberia to cover the insurance costs for active duty police officers. In the first ever implementation of this law, over 5,000 members of the Liberia National Police will be provided with insurance coverage, fully funded by the government of Liberia, beginning January 2025. This initiative is expected to offer additional support to these dedicated individuals who continue to sacrifice for our collective security under challenging conditions. Honorable Pro Tempore and distinguished members of the Senate, we are the first to acknowledge that the proposed increases do not put us where we truly desire to be. But what we have done should be construed as the first year action in a multi-year effort to address issues and concerns in public sector remuneration. As we all work assiduously to broaden the fiscal space in subsequent years, further actions will be taken. Sanitizing the payroll will create additional wiggle room, and the outcomes of this process already indicate that we are headed in that direction. In addition, January 2024, there were more than 65,000 names on the central government payroll. With rigorous efforts at verification and documentation, that number is down to less than 61,200 at the end of October, and the monthly wage bill had fallen from $23.5 million to slightly over US $21 million. This was one of the contributory factors to our ability to propose the minimum top-ups for selected sectors. As we indicated at the start of our administration, our success in the removal of ghost names from the payroll and stamping out fraud is crucial to our ability to make significant additions to public sector salaries across the board and at the same time stay within the fiscal sustainable limits. Five, external resources. The estimate for official development assistance, the ODA, is US $383.3 million, of which US $203.6 million will come in grants, and US $179.7 million in concessional loans. On budget, ODA amounts to US $60 million, US $40 million from the World Bank, and US $20 million from the EU. The remaining US $323.3 million of ODA will be used on interventions that support government priorities through the implementation of several projects in the following areas: US $144.4 million for human capital development, that is health, education, and social services; US $65.7 million for economic transformation, that is agriculture, commerce, and industry; US $41.9 million for infrastructure development; US $34.9 million for governance and anti-corruption; and US $32.2 million for environmental sustainability. 6. New policies for fiscal year 2025. As part of the reforms to our revenue and tax administration system, we are considering a number of new regulations and legislations that will provide clarity in the way different levels of income are taxed. We'll be submitting a bill to redistribute the tax burden by breaking up tax brackets with wide intervals between the lower and upper thresholds. This will lead to differentiation among the lump sum tax basis and ensures
Welcome back.
That taxpayers closer to either the upper or lower extremes of existing tax brackets will pay different lump sum amounts. Another tax legislation will seek to rectify inconsistencies in the classification of taxation of income from services. We intend to create incentives for long-term investments by proposing lower tax rates for resident corporations compared to non-residents. We will also be asking for non-residency period to be shortened from the present 180 days to 90 days. Additionally, we're working with the national legislature. We intend revenue-enhancing tax measures that will help support some of the critical social expenditures that we have earmarked in the social and other critical sectors. In order to effectively leverage the benefits and opportunities of off-budget ODA, we have made it clear to our external partners that the use of external resources should be linked as closely as possible to the priorities of the arrest agenda for inclusive development, EARD. This is why we ensure that all development partners were involved as active participants in the conceptualization, consultations, and preparations of the National Development Plan and the County Development Agenda CDA. Madam Pro Tem, the cost of utilities for spending entities and SOEs has increased exponentially since the payment of bills was centralized under the auspices of the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, which does not have the functional expertise to monitor, track, or verify the actual consumption of public institutions. As of January 2025, spending entities will have to directly negotiate the access to and cost of utilities with the relevant providers or on a prepaid basis and account for associated costs in their recurrent budget. This will remove the current challenges of under budgeting and utility providers having to sustain losses from services they provide to public institutions. Honorable Pro Tempore and distinguished members of the Senate. Over the years, we have witnessed a pattern of the national budget being approved several weeks or months into the fiscal year for which the budget is intended. This is historically led to distortions in expenditure planning and the procurement processes for critically needed goods, services, and projects. Delays in the meeting time-sensitive obligations such as debt service payments, counterpart contributions to ongoing projects, and resource flows to sectors such as health, education, security, among others, have been the outcomes of this pattern. Against this background, and with a sense of urgency for confronting the challenges, we have endeavored to submit the budget as early as possible to afford the legislature ample time for scrutiny, including engagements with executive branch institutions and the conduct of public hearings. This, we hope, will lead to the passage of the budget before the close of the fiscal year 2024. 7. Madam Pro Tempore and distinguished members of the Senate, we all recognize that the fiscal year 2024 national budget served primarily as a transitional budget for all government institutions, bringing with it various transitional challenges. One significant challenge was the increase in the requests for budgetary transfer to address new spending priorities that arose as the fiscal year progressed. These challenges negatively affected both overall fiscal predictability and the specific predictability of the budget. As we compared for the budget approved process in the coming weeks, I urge all stakeholders to keep in mind that the revenue estimates and budget ceilings allocated to spending entities represent the best possible allocation decisions based on available projections for economic performance and development priorities for fiscal year 2025. This situation calls for us to exercise fiscal discipline by avoiding unrealistic increases in revenue estimates and making expenditure decisions that could pose significant risks during the budget execution phase. Honorable Pro Tempore and members of the Senate, the fiscal year 2025 budget coincides with the first year of the Arrest Agenda for Inclusive Development AARD, our National Development Plan for 2025 to 2029, which will be finalized and launched in the coming weeks. This is why we have allocated about 86% of PSRP expenditure to sectors that are at the forefront of the AARD. It is our hope that the leadership and members of the legislature will demonstrate your support for the AARD by approving the resources that have been allocated. Finally, Honorable Presiding and members of the legislature, please be assured of the sentiments of my highest regards, and please accept the draft national budget for fiscal 2025 for your review and approval. Sincerely, Joseph Yumon Baka Sr., President of the Republic of Liberia. Mr. President of the Senate and Presiding Officer.
Now the reading of the communication from the President of the Republic of Liberia informing this plenary about a trip to Sierra Leone, the submission of the draft national budget. What's your will and pleasure? Senator Finley.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues. I'd like to move, if I can obtain a second, that the President letter informing this Senate about his trip be noted and form part of the archives of the Senate, and that the communications concerning the budget be received and said communication copy be made to all senators, and that the matter be referred to the appropriate committee, which is the Ways and Means Finance and Budget.
To be moved and seconded, communication informing this plenary of the President file will be noted, and that the budget communication copies be made available to all senators and be turned over to the Committee on Ways, Means, Finance, Budget. What's your will on that? What's your will?
Thank you, Vice President. I'll be very proposed if plenary can decide that the Senate consider the budget not jointly with the House of Representatives.
Right. Right. Thank you. Second.
But the motion didn't say that. It's already, and it's already amended.
I'm confused with that because the motion is just to send it to the Ways and Means. Now, the Senate can decide whether you will do it jointly or not jointly.
That's why he's amending the
Our rules say you cannot have two topics in the same motion.
Senator, you want to accept it or reject it?
Mr. Presiding, the budget is before the Senate, and according to our rules, the Senate will work separately. We can only vote if we decide that we want to work jointly. So there's no need to amend the motion. The Senate will deal with the budget separately. And if the Senate decide that we should vote jointly, that one will be that. So it's going to be dealt with separately.
I will be ready to vote because this is a motion, and we will vote on the motion, That's what we do. By the motion, waiting. I want to amend the motion by my unreadiness that the Senate will receive the budget from the President, forward it to the Committee on Ways, Means, Finance, and Budget, and that the motion will carry that the Senate will hold its hearing on the budget, not joint hearing.
Independently. Yes.
The motion must be clear. That's
Right.
unreadiness.
Right. Independently. Right. Independently. Doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that.
Mr. President, the distinguished gentleman from Maserado, I'm sure the distinguished gentleman from Rank who also made an intervention, and I will respectfully accept.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. With all the awareness satisfied to in favor say yes. Against. When them leave you out accordingly. Secretary of the Senate.
Chief.
No. Majority Brian is not legal.
Business of President bill for an act to repeal the 2012 Act creating a bombing council college and establishing a new dialogue with West Indian University.
Please.
For second reading.
Senator Bani, Senator Chair, Supreme Court can deal with that matter.
For second reading.
Thank you.
No,
Our title.
we can deal with it ourselves. We have our own rules here.
Second reading by title.
No, majority.
So the minority will make decision for us.
We don't have any majority black here.
No, I said block. I said majority senator will make a determination.
Second reading by title, by the way, and pleasure.
Which one's that?
On the bill,
7B.
act to ratify the 2012 act creating the Bombing County Community College.
Second reading.
Second reading.
Mr. President of the Senate, presiding officer, having listened to the second reading of an act to repeal the 2012 Act creating the Bombing Community College and to establish in lieu thereof the Western Region University and grant the charter. The second reading, I move that this reading constitutes the second reading and is now the bill that will send over to the committees on education and judiciary and ways, means, and finance. With copies submitted to all senators, and that the committee will report within 2 weeks.
It's been moved and seconded. Are you ready to vote?
Ready.
Those in favor say yes. Against. Move for standing committee.
Report from Standing Committee. Report from the Joint Committee on Public Cooperation, Judicial Human Rights Claims and Petitions on the bill 1, an act to create Liberia Seaport Regulatory Authority, and 2, act of the Liberia Seaport decentralization for voting.
How are you?
Now the report from the Committee on Public Cooperation and Judiciary.
For voting.
For voting, right?
For voting.
Are you ready to vote?
Yeah.
Those in favor say yeah. Against?
That's it.
The Senate rules require 16 votes for all bills to become law. I'm prepared to make sure. It's not motion.
You know how many bills you pass here by year and year?
That's not an issue. The issue is,
Report from Senate Committee. Report from Senate Committee. All bills that will determine year later or
Report from Standing Committee. Report from the Committee Judiciary on the draft bill for establish the tax and appointed position in government.
And the majority of black now was see.
Judiciary.
Yes.
Let me comment. The Judiciary Committee, the chair.
The chairman of the judiciary. Report. Recommendation. The Joint Committee having deliberated on edited and by majority vote of a quorum present, voted to pass the bill, recommends the Senate pass the bill into law. Join the committee room, this 14 signed of the committee. Mr. President of the Senate. Yeah. Committee report. Committee chairman of judiciary.
Order, Judge.
What's your order, sir?
My order is whether this report was circulated.
Hey man,
Yes.
coming from the
Why is it? Show me the garbage. Show me the garbage. Show me the garbage. Yeah, show me the garbage. Show me the That report was never circulated.
It was.
But when the order just bring it. Now that is a different
The brother was looking for discussion, you should have raised that issue. At this point, you can raise it now. Please, let's proceed.
Now the reading a report from the Committee on Judiciary by the way of President.
Hey, Chairman.
I move that the report be circulated widely, just to be received and open for discussion.
Second.
If we move and second and the report generally be open for discussion. Are you ready to vote?
Ready.
While they are ready, now stand down.
I'll be ready to vote if they allow the secretary to read the recommendations.
Right.
Let me read one more for the hearing of the Senate.
What the recommendation? What the recommendation? What did it say?
The joint committee having deliberated on edited and by majority vote of a quorum present, voted to pass the bill, so recommend that the Senate pass the bill into law. That's the recommendation.
Yeah, so we understand what
I said the report circulated.
Those of you are here, again, the floor is open. asked already.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I wrote the.
So the public has not been removed. The pastor straight. Yeah.
No, that committee, I'm going to.
That's judiciary. Well, how you talk before me?
No, I didn't
That
sign.
If you are appointed before you, let it talk before you.
I'm not staying with you yet.
When you are before you.
You want to break?
Thank you, thank you. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The crime-free bill is based on Article 54 of the Constitution. And it's very important for us to understand why the framers of the Constitution in 54 referred that president must nominate to the Senate for second portfolio, cabinet, up, down, even up to councils. You see, the nomination coming to the Senate is to get the approbation of the people. Yes, you serve at the will and pleasure of the president, but you serve the people. That's one. Two, it is very important for us to understand that when the president nominates some of these people, they are controlling and managing public funds, which is the power of the legislature to appropriate. And so if they misappropriate, we don't call the president, we call them. When we confirm you, you are confirmed to carry out and execute the duties of the people. And so it's very important that this bill passes this Senate. You see, we have people sitting to LTA, been there for more than 6 months. They're controlling millions of dollars revenue. Millions. Who do they answer to? We can send for them, they can decide not to come here to us because they don't answer to us. They're not answerable to us. We have not confirmed them. They're answerable to the president. So if they, any action they take, can we call the president to answer for them on their behalf? No. So that's why this bill is important. That you gave the president latitude of 90 days. Give him latitude of 90 days. I'm not saying he can't do it. But give him the latitude of 90 days, and after 90 days, you must come before the people to get approval to spend our money, or to spend the people's money, and to use your authority in the interest of the people. So for me, it's why I decided that it's time now to start to hold people accountable to the legislature, to the spending of public funds. I will not take up my time from my colleagues. I think I will stop here just to throw a little light on it. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I thank you and I ask you to support the passage of this bill in the interest of the Liberian. Thank you.
Presiding, I want to thank for those announcements for the committee for taking this issue that appeared in the Senate floor before. I have some issues that some notes that I will present to the committee, but yes, I agree for the 90 days. But I do not agree that any nominee should act for even 1 year. if we do that, we create a room for our functions to be usurped. There's no need for anybody to ask. No nominee should ask at all.
Once you have been nominated,
The only people who should ask are people who have been already confirmed by the Liberian Senate. For example, Ministry of X. We have deputy ministers that have been confirmed. Position is open for the minister proper. President nominates. You shouldn't ask. One of the deputy ministers who have been confirmed should ask. If there's nobody who has been confirmed, the most senior civil servant should ask. There is no need, absolutely,
best practice.
for a nominee by the president to ask for even 1 hour.
Best practice worldwide.
For example, say you nominate Minister Brown, Minister Chair,
From Senator
you ask him to ask for 90 days. Will you put him on payroll?
Of course.
Will you put him on payroll?
Will he manage
Or as a
to
commissioner in Brantford County District, not district, to ask? While they are asking for 90 days, will you put him on payroll? So you complicate matters. Either the most senior civil servant in that institution or somebody who has been confirmed by the Senate should act instead of nominee, new nominee. No need for that. Some people will say, how about recess appointments? One time we will have recess for 6 months. Now it's only 2 months. So nominee should wait until we return. 2 months not long. Without communicating anything. Mr. President, that's my intervention.
With the President of the Senate, distinguished body, as a member of the Judiciary Committee, assigned also the report seeking the endorsement of plenary to pass this bill into law so that we can have this law sent to the House concurrence, and hopefully that the President will sign it for the following reasons to vote. In the 1847 to 1980, our Constitution carried that the President will appoint officials as categorized in the Constitution with the advice of the Senate. Please, with the advice of the Senate. Something under advisement is left to the person who is being advised to take it or not. The 1986 Constitution replaced advice with consent. It changed it completely. That means the Senate must agree. The Senate must consent. First time the Senate used to advise, the President won't take the advice, he won't take it, he take it. Those days. But 1986 Constitution used a compelling word, consent. And once the Senate does not consent, it means that person's nomination stops right there. No president should be allowed, and beginning with our own making, our own president, should not and never ever be allowed to have people to act in position, especially where the Senate has not given consent. It is a violation of the Constitution.
Thank you.
We should not aid and abet it in the interest of the practice of good governance and the respect for the rule of law. I support this bill that people should not act beyond the time frame in this bill, and if it meets the majority decision of plenary that nobody should act at all where consent is required, I will also support it in the spirit of good governance. Recess appointment, they say when the Senate is not in session. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, distinguished colleagues,
Right. Thank you.
we have a duty imposed upon us to help our public and ourselves. What constitutes in session? Session is not a day we sitting. Today is plenary sitting. Session is from January to December. In between, we have breaks. We are in the first session of the 55th legislature. From January to December is the first session of the 55th legislature. Next year, 2025, will be the second session. So, when we hear for 3 months, the day we hear we come for plenary sitting, even if we go home, it is session. That period from January to the time we take a break for Easter, for our first constituency break, that session period 3 months there.
Right. 3
to 4 months.
Right.
Tuesday and Thursday, the thing we're doing now, that's plenary sitting. In session. For the first quarter, we are in the last quarter of the first session of the 55th legislature. So people must start thinking that the day they see all in plenary here, it means we're not in session. We're in session until December, even Saturday and Sunday. That's already.
So basically for the purpose of looking at some other way, what if the Senate decide to not confirm or deny some matters for 1 year?
The person cannot act because they have not met the consent. And the one minister, the Supreme Court, like any other institution, Mr. President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues, there is no time frame for the Supreme Court to hear a case to decide. The president can nominate, this body can decide when. That is why even in our motion, and our...
That is 1 minute. Yeah, we did that.
That's why the president, that was the constitution put you here. So that if we are delayed, our president said, you are asking the president to encourage us to speed up.
You have to encourage.
Yeah, so it's not a...
Encourage for the next 1 year. The reason why I'm asking, there could be, not this legislature, there could be a legislature here. Someone making the law, we have to look ahead of.
Yeah.
There could be a legislature that decide to track with the president. And the president, you send a nominee here, there's a need for what to be going on. The Senate decide, struggle you, keep your nominee, not confirming, not denying. You can tell somebody to act. Your government is prepared. Assuming it was 4, 5, 6 minutes. What happened to the government?
So that's the beauty of democracy. One person can get it away all the time. One branch, one branch nominates, another branch consents. Thank you, President. Another branch consents. When? It's determined by that branch. That's consent. That is why even in our practice for doing motion on confirmation hearing, we don't have time frame.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President. I think Senator, I don't want to have my voice to Senator G.A. and Senator Law. Perhaps I will need to be too long because they've already made a case, legal case, and by practice worldwide in terms of governance, we have to respect the rule. The binding consent authority of the Senate needs to appoint, and the Senate needs to get this consent. And we'll begin to see that person, you see, President, or there's a vacancy,
the acting provision is still in those statutes. But we see what's president now having those statutes and focus on the people. And that's why people tell no change. People will should act, but not outside of the legal structure. I think that's the point we want to make. Right. And that guarantees the separation of power and also the respect for the rule of law. I want to make that point right here.
Thank you very much. Senator Banning.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I listened to the different perspectives on the floor. I listened to Antuchire, who's proposing that the most senior civil servant should assume the position to lead the entity in the absence of nominees, in the absence of people duly confirmed. And I guess he's making reference to a situation where there's a transition. The government is in transition and there is nobody confirmed in charge of the ministry in that case. But if you are dealing with a technical institution, LTA, and it is unlikely that the most senior civil servant does not have the capacity to provide supervision, then you need a transition. There's a transition. There's nobody there. You understand it? So, for internal affairs, it's applicable. For internal affairs, it's applicable. For some other ministries, that's applicable. For some other technical entities, it will be necessary to appoint someone to act. And I guess that's the basis of the law. If we go by that, it defeats the whole purpose of having the law. The law is when you have the president given the opportunity to appoint, there must be restrictions. They cannot continue indefinitely. And there where I agree with. Yeah. Why should it be information? No, I'm saying I do agree with you. When it comes nomination, I support that. No question.
He cited FTA, but you listen for an example. Are FTAs or are departments that are headed by
technical people.
Every entity, those people that are appointees are only going there what they create. Professional work is done by technicians who are directors, assistant directors, and there. So the fear of the qualified people will not be there, should not be there.
I'm going to wait until I think from
when you say the most senior, the law doesn't specify that. The law doesn't say that in other instances. What I do agree with, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, is that we have to give meaning to the consent power of the Senate. And we can support anything that undermines that consent power. So when the president nominates or nominee, this law must make it illegal for the president to allow that nominee to act. The law must be specific about that. Once you are nominated, you have no chance of acting. I support that.
Why did they say you act directly?
If they ask you, if they send you to act before you are nominated, in my opinion, the law shouldn't allow that situation. The law should not allow it. And in the event that the Senate does not confirm, that person ceases to act.
Correct.
In my opinion, if it is already in motion before. So I support I support that. The one I do not support is to say that the most senior, I think we should give the room to the president to appoint in the instance of a technical institution for unlimited time. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Somebody in the system, but he must appoint. Because sometimes, outside of the presidential appointment card, the law may not specifically say who acts. So you need somebody to be appointed as president in the system for a limited period. But I think 90 days too long.
Yeah, I agree.
90 days too long.
That's a good argument.
Yeah, I think 90 days too long. Yeah, Mr. Pisani, I'm saying I think our police should agree to 45 days to 60 days. Not more than that. 90 days, that quarter of a year. So I read.
Article 54.
That's Chairman.
Sorry, thank you.
Because you're supposed to make it
Sergeant, I'd like to bring to the attention to plenary, because this discussion is extremely important to the people of Silent County. Presently, the president wrote a communication to about 19 people within our county, instructing them in the communication that they are appointed to act pending the confirmation of the Senate. Immediately after that communication, less than a week after that communication, plenary came up with a decision to deny these 19 people from assuming those responsibilities. Honorable Presiding, 19 out of 163, because 19 were taken out, were not denied, and it was being discussed between pro tem, the 2 senators, and even in consultation with our representatives. And the rest of the others were passed. The president, as I said, went and appointed them to act pending plenary confirmation. Less than a week, plenary denied those 19 people. But Honorable Presiding President of the Liberian Senate, those that have been appointed to act have assumed those responsibilities in our county. Who were denied. Yeah, those that were denied have taken up their responsibility and are refusing, and this is exactly what is happening.
Yes,
and so I want to bring this to plenary. The reason, the president is doing it. He is doing it. And why I'm bringing it to the public, I'm bringing it to the public.
I'm not constitutional council you're bringing to.
Honorable Presiding, over the year of us being in plenary.
Senator will solve the sample issue. Then now we'll talk about any issue.
I want it to be public. It is a national. Do you know how we can say that? No, but when we deny, when plenary deny, and now the negotiation.
Nobody has the power to overrule. Nobody has to uphold the constitution of this country. That's what the president swear to do. No, but you know, to be frank, let him start in like this. Nothing wrong. Yeah, nothing wrong. Let them continue advancing him the way they are advancing him. Okay.
We will go to court and no constitutional crisis will come here. More serious than what happened over there. More serious than what happened over there. The serious constitutional crisis is looming. The looming, it will come. Government wants the president to behave. Yeah. Our people will reject the president. We want to follow, they say, our they play with it, the serious constitutional crisis. Serious constitutional crisis will come. Serious one. Don't play with it.
We have the power. We still want to
constitutional crisis. Thank you.
Let's continue with the debate.
So the information I'm getting is that the communication from the Secretary of the Senate did not go to the mansion. The communication, when the petition was taken, please wait. The president has shared that. The information is that the Senate Secretary wrote the minister in China that informing them that
He said no.
No, man, I see that.
No, it was a fight. No, but when they were denied, they didn't want to say. They were going to follow up from the General Secretary that should not be making a report that the president told them to go ahead and put them behind them.